Well, Sean, the movie guy, is back from this year's South by Southwest Film Festival, and he'll possibly join us in just a minute. We're having some technical problems, but first we got a couple of movies that are in wide release to take a look at. Here's Sean with all the details.
Vikings fight dragons. We don't train them.
Now who's with me?
Get down!
3D films have ruled the theaters this year, and the latest entry is DreamWorks' animated fable, How to Train Your Dragon. The story of a Viking teenager who's supposed to grow up to be a dragon killer like everyone else in his clan, but he's not the burly killer type, so he ends up befriending a dragon instead, which literally turns everything in his world upside down.
You're crazy. I like that.
Let me show you. Gently.
How to Train Your Dragon is a lot of fun, as you might expect from the guys who made Shrek and Kung Fu Panda, and the 3D effects are pretty cool, especially during the flying scenes. All in all, a great family treat.
Guys, come look at this.
Must be some kind of hot tub time machine.
Hot Tub Time Machine is about a, well, you guessed it, a hot tub that's also a time machine. It's a title and a concept that's so on-the-nose perfect that you know you're in for some silly fun.
It's kind of the dumbest title that I'd ever heard. It just made you start laughing right away. If you get a great title for a movie, the movie actually will write itself.
John Cusack, Craig Robinson, Rob Corddry, and Clark Duke star as four dudes who find themselves stuck in the 80s when their magical hot tub breaks down. Basically, it's a story that gives our heroic quartet a chance to poke fun at 80s fashions, act a little silly, and act more than a little raunchy.
Come on, it's the 80s. Let's do what we want. Free love.
Hey, let's get this party started.
Mom?
And that's what's new at the movies this week. I'm Sean McGrath, the movie guy, for 6 News.
All right, well, Sean, the movie guy, joins us by phone from Boise, Idaho, to talk about the new movies and DVD releases. We're having some trouble with our Skype, so thanks for hanging in with us for that. What do you want to do first, Sean? You want to talk about South by Southwest? You want to do the?
Well, let's talk a little bit more about those two movies first. So, and yeah, sorry about the Skype. I don't know what's going on with that, but I hear you guys laughing. You know, I hear you laughing, so you're obviously interested in Hot Tub Time Machine.
The preview looks funny.
Yeah, and Tom can relate.
Yeah, I grew up in that era.
You know, well, yes, we all went through that era. So, you know, Hot Tub Time Machine, like John Cusack said in the package, it's one of those titles that's so silly and stupid that you just know it's going to be interesting. Quite frankly, you know, most of the good stuff is in the trailer. It is silly, so it only rises to a certain level. But it's fun to poke fun at the 80s. I mean, those were my high school ages, you know. And so I can sort of relate. I think there are some good jokes. I think the guys in the show make for nice, appealing characters. I don't think it's going to be quite as funny as a lot of people thought it would be. But you know, it's just one of those silly, raunchy, R-rated comedies that, you know, that's in the wake of Knocked Up and some of those films, they found this new R-rated comedy mode, and I think it works very well.
Is there enough detail in the jokes to really kind of, you know, keep you interested?
Yeah, it's superficial comedy.
Yeah,
no, it's not a very deep thing, and I wouldn't say that we really get into any of the characters. Like I say, it's really an excuse to act raunchy and poke fun at the 80s. And, you know, there's something to be said for that.
And Chevy Chase is in it, so.
Chevy Chase plays I don't think he's actually that good in this, but you know, it's a fun movie. It's a great, you know, if you want to just get away on a Friday night for date night or something, I think it's a lot of fun.
Well, and I want to talk a little bit about How to Train Your Dragon, the 3D version of it. I know with Avatar, we've certainly raised the stakes in 3D movies. Is this if you're going to see it in the 3D, and I don't even know if they even released it in the 2D version?
Yeah, well, actually, there's some really interesting stuff going on with that right now, because it's 11 of the last 16 weeks. The film that's won the weekend box office crown has been 3D between Alice in Wonderland and Avatar. Now, we have How to Train Your Dragon, which was supposed to have clear sailing for quite a while. But people like Clash of the Titans, which opens next week, said, well, let's quickly turn our film into a 3D. And so they're fighting over 3D screens. And there just aren't enough of them right now. So, for example, Paramount is playing hardball and saying, if you want our movie in 2D, you've got to play it in 3D as well, or we're not going to give you, you know, theaters this, you know, either version. It's kind of interesting because obviously there are about 20 3D films that are scheduled for release this year. Theater owners love it because that means you can charge a whole lot more money for it. I think it works very well in 3D, actually. Animation, I think, plays better in 3D than live action anyway. Yeah. And some of the flying scenes are very reminiscent of Avatar. I think How to Train Your Dragon is actually the best film of the week, and certainly the one to go check out. And it's worth seeing in 3D, although you may want to hurry because Clash of the Titans is coming out next week.
So it might push it off some screens then.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Interesting.
You still have your 3D glasses, don't you, Tom?
I turned them in for recycling.
Oh, sure you did. Sure you did. What about our DVD releases this week? The Blind Side, Brothers, The Box, Fantastic Mr. Fox, Men Who Stare at Goats, Red Cliff, and After Dark Horror Fest 4.
Now, don't make fun of that, because the After Dark series, it's a movie marathon that hits theaters for just a couple of days. They're usually 8 to 12 films, and they're just low-budget horror films. Quite frankly, some of the best horror films each year have come from After Dark. I think it's a very good series. Anyway, they're all out on DVD.
Those are the ones that I like, though, Sean. Those B movie horror fest kind of shows. Those are the ones we love.
Hatchet Bikini Fest.
Yeah, those things.
Yeah, no, I do too. I think there's a certain energy to low-budget horror films that sometimes, if you're making some slick special effect-driven horror film, sometimes you forget to scare people. You're so worried about the actors and the special effects. I'm a big fan of After Dark. But obviously, The Blind Side, that is the big film, Sandra Bullock's film. She won the Academy Award, obviously. I don't think it's a super great movie, but I think it is a very good and certainly a crowd-pleasing movie. That's the one you want to check out.
You know, it was interesting because I went back and looked at Metacritic because I wanted to see what the reviews sort of were on that movie because it was really pretty mixed. I was surprised for a movie that, at the Academy Awards got a lot of play. The critics sort of were kind of mixed on it, and I wonder if that's is it a movie that really is overt in how it plays on your emotions? I know critics who watch a lot of movies tend to be when they're manipulated like that tend to sort of reject that idea.
Yeah, it's a little saccharine and it's a little too pat. I mean, everything happens without really much going on. That's it's almost a fairy tale.
Yeah,
except it's based on a real life event.
Right.
So.
Well, good.
Well, George Clooney, Men Who Stare at Ghosts, would you recommend that?
I didn't dislike it, but I didn't think that was very good. Fantastic Mr. Fox is the other one of note on that list.
That's an animated?
That's an animated film, also starring George Clooney, and that's certainly one of the better animated films from last year. So
let's get into the South by Southwest and what your picks are and the winners.
Yeah, South by Southwest, baby. First of all, let's talk about the actual winners of the films. There are so many films that you can't see them all. But the best narrative feature was a film called Tiny Furniture, about a girl who finds out that she's just trying to put her life together. She's graduated. She's got a useless film theory degree. What do you do with that? Best documentary feature was one I really loved, Marwin Call, about a guy who was beaten into a coma. When he comes out, he builds a 1/6 scale World War II village in his backyard. Fascinating story about this guy trying to recuperate. And then Brotherhood with the Narrative Audience Award, and For Once in My Life, which is another great film about a gospel choir sort of prepping for a big show. Great Audience Award documentary there. I would say, though, there are a lot of films that play at South by, and it's funny because there seem to be 3 different types of films going on that festival, just like there are 3 festivals. South by, if you think about it, is a music festival. That's what it was first and foremost. Then it was a film festival, and then it was an interactive festival. So you have all these geeks, these tech geeks showing up. That's where they launched Twitter, for example, 3 years ago. That's where Gowalla was big this year. I mean, there's a lot of internet stuff that's going on. So there's a lot of films that are about that now. Life 2.0, for example, a film about living your life in Second Life, which is an online virtual world. And Erasing David, a fascinating film about a guy who, he basically tried to erase himself from the world, delete all reference to himself. Just a very interesting, film about privacy.
Okay, Sean, we're just about out of time.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. That's good stuff, though. I wish we'd gotten into that earlier. I apologize for that.
Not a problem. There's always tons to talk about. We'll talk about MacGruber and some of those other films when they open.
Okay, sounds good.
Have a good weekend, Sean. And you have a good weekend as well as you.
You too.
Yeah, maybe get that stuff taken
work
care
on
of.
it. All right.
Honey and lemon, by the way.
That's what I hear.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.